that I learned from Rudy, it's really not meditation, it's deep inner work. It's like, I don't know, like trying to dredge a river, of all the blocks and tensions that exist inside us so that we can bring all the garbage to the surface and then just flush it out, get rid of it. So there's an absolutely strong and very pure connection between each and every one of us and God or higher energy in the universe. Now, to do this requires a lot of strength. It requires a lot of commitment and deep inner work. And it requires an openness inside that only comes about if we're rooted and we have foundation inside ourselves. The heart is open, the mind is quiet. And whether the mind speaks English or Portuguese or whatever language it yaks away in the brain, we have to learn to get it quiet, because without getting it quiet, it blocks all the wisdom, that exists in the universe. It can't flow into us. We are keeping it, from flowing into us. So, the development of a chakra system that's strong enough, as I always talk about, I'll mention it again because they're kind of new people here, to do three things. The first thing is we need to be rooted inside so that we can receive the spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is really powerful energy. As I've said many times, like in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna, it's as if the light of 1,000 suns suddenly appeared in the sky. It's infinite energy in the universe that we want to take into us because it brings knowledge, it brings wisdom, it brings the capacity to see what's real and what's not real in the world. And above everything, it really gives us the strength and the objectivity and the ability to work out our karma. How do we work out our karma? When you're really grounded inside by being focused in the third chakra, the heart can open. Not only can it open, but it can stay open. So it's not like playing an accordion where the music, or a ping pong match. The heart can really stay open. And then we work out our karma through love, through compassion, through forgiveness. But to do these things are great words, but they're absolutely meaningless if a human being hasn't built a system inside themselves that can truly apply them to their life. The third element is Kundalini. Kundalini is a very big word today. When I was a kid, who ever heard of Kundalini? I've always told that story about, when Rudy said to me, he said, what kind of meditation you practice? I said, Rudy, I haven't the foggiest idea. All I know is that it works. I never really cared what it's called. He said, you do Kundalini yoga. And then he said to me, Stuart, I was teaching this for 10 years. And somebody said to me, do you know what kind of meditation you teach? And they said, Kundalini yoga. So, it's like Shakespeare, a rose by any other name smells just as sweetly, Kundalini by any other name, when it develops a chakra system and gets a person really rooted, and the throat is open, the heart is open, the mind is quiet, we're receiving Shakti and spiritual energy. Kundalini becomes the pathway to enlightenment. It's a very powerful force at the base of a human being's spine. And in order to activate it without being burned up by it, understand, we need to be really grounded inside and rooted inside. And our meditation is about this. It's about building a chakra system that is strong enough to do these three things, to receive the energy of God or spirit or higher energy or whatever you want to call it, to work out our karma. We're born on the earth for a reason. Why? We're born on the earth because we have to learn how to love and live with compassion, forgiveness, and to treat humanity that way. And as long as we're in our heads, there's always conflicting energy. So that development of that rootedness inside gives us the capacity to do this. And the third element is Kundalini, which is the pathway to enlightenment. and the freedom from samsara, from that merry-go-round of illusion that just about everybody on this planet lives with. So this is what I learned from Rudy. Understand, my words are a little different than his, but I promise you it's the exact same thing he taught me. And I spent 6 years really with him very closely, having this driven into my brain, finally beat it into me what this work is really all about. And then it took many years to develop it in myself to where it finally became clear. It's what I'm trying to pass on to each and every one of you. And nobody, would do this unless there has to be some need inside them to ultimately attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. So please, everyone, try and work very deeply inside. We'll have a meditation class. And after the class, if anyone has questions they'd like to ask, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And the questions are always great. I mean, it took almost 5 minutes for somebody to ask a question this afternoon in my class in Europe and the Middle East. And what came out was just staggering, it was staggering. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. They really bring a whole different dimension to the class. And they enable me to talk about things that I don't want to keep repeating myself, So it enables me to come up with stuff that I never even dreamed of, it just comes, So God bless you all. Thank you for being here. And we'll have a meditation class. And after the class, if you have questions, please ask them. Muted, everyone. And does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, would you talk about the separation of body and spirit that occurs in our work?
I talk about this almost all the time. I mean, look, please, everyone, try and sit still, don't move. I mean it, you move, it disrupts the class. There's no chakra on your nose, there's no chakra in your hair. So please, everybody, try and sit still. It really keeps the energy flowing in the class. Look, I talk about it all the time. I mean, we're born on the earth for a particular reason. We have to learn how to work out karma. And what does that mean? It means the transformation of suffering, of pain, of difficulty, of anxiety, into love, into joy, into an open heart. Understand? And once we learn how to do this, we get free of our karma. And as we get free of our karma, the power of Kundalini then allows us to separate the spirit from the physical body. And that energy rises to the crown chakra, and then it opens. It's like a 1,000-petal lotus, they call it. And then the soul of a human being connects with the soul of God or infinite energy or higher energy, whatever one wants to call it. I mean, everything is contingent upon how deeply we work on ourselves and what kind of system we build inside ourselves. To have the strength to do this, it takes an amazingly deep inner strength to be able to separate the soul from the body, not allow the mind to get involved, the emotions to get involved, sexual energy to get involved, but to truly free ourselves of all of that anxiety and angst that's created, when we are not allowing energy to flow through our system because the chakra system is not open. It makes it possible for the soul to separate from the body. And that is the end goal of all of this, is to become one with God, to free ourselves of this endless round, of birth and death, which brings with it an enormous amount of suffering and difficulty and pain. But then again, the suffering, the difficulty, and the pain is what brings most people here. They need to learn how to get free of that. And that's certainly something that's not taught in universities and PhDs. You need to learn how to develop an inner life that is strong enough to get free of it. Once you build that kind of inner life, organically, the soul will separate from the body. You have freed yourself of karma. You have freed yourself of the material world. And that's what takes place inside a human being. Please try and, Elaine, will you please try and sit still? You scratching and fidgeting, and it disrupts the class. I hate, look, honestly, I hate to say these things. It interrupts everything I'm talking about, and it interrupts the energy of the meditation. And frankly, after a while, it gets really boring to have to keep repeating this to people. So have a little consciousness and just stay centered for another 10 minutes. I'm not asking you to do it for 24 hours so that the class does not get disrupted. I think the question you asked is very important, because that is the end goal of this meditation practice that we do. It should be the end goal of every spiritual practice, is the separation of the soul from the body. But the wonderment of what Rudy created was a technique that can build a system inside that really enables us to do this consciously. And it happens organically because we have grown to a place inside ourselves where the heart is really open and can stay open. And we interact with life, with love, with joy, with compassion, with forgiveness. The same thing with the sexual energy. You understand? We're capable of using sexual energy consciously. We're capable of truly applying Tantra to a spiritual life, which is the union of the male-female principle in the sexual area. That will activate Kundalini. So all of this stuff works together, and all of it works to a particular end. And that's to free people of what they call samsara, which is that merry-go-round of life and death that never stops spinning, because people don't have enough consciousness inside to truly transcend it. So our work is about that. But then, when you build a pyramid, you don't start with the eye at the top of the pyramid. You got to put in the bricks, the stones, one at a time, to ultimately get to the point at the top of the pyramid, which is that cosmological energy. And our work is really the same thing, building an inner life that is strong enough to ultimately allow the soul to free itself from the body. And and it evolves. The soul doesn't stop growing. It evolves into other planes of consciousness where there are whole new lessons to be learned and things to go through. And hopefully it's not a plane of consciousness where the lesson we have to go through is how to transform suffering into a spiritual life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question. It's Bob.
Yes, Bob.
Many years ago, back in the 70s, when Swami Muktananda came to the States, and I was involved in that city yoga, and I went to a weekend Kundalini intensive, they called them, and it wasn't Baba, but it was one of his.
What's the question, Bob?
Well, the question is ultimately, is one of the roles of Kundalini to heal the body?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The body is a temple. The altars in the temple are the chakras. Each of the chakras is connected to the spine, which enables a human being to connect directly with higher energy in the universe. Yes, this meditation is about healing. But healing is, it's a process that takes place over time. Where we heal, different aspects of we heal ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically. We heal ourselves of so many problems that people have, and they carry around with them because they lack the consciousness in how to do it. And it's a slow process of freeing ourselves of all these impediments that keep us from being happy. That's what they do. They just keep us from being happy people. I mean, I've said it, this is your first class, but I've said it, happy people are enlightened people, not people that walk around in robes, and people that read from sacred, people that can live every day of their life with joy and love in their heart, with kindness. I mean, the Dalai Lama talks about this all the time, with compassion, with love. These are enlightened people, but to find people like that, it's easy to find the Holy Grail, for God's sake. And that is the process of healing, which takes place when you do deep chakra work, emotional healing, mental healing, sexual healing, physical healing. It's all an outgrowth of the development of the chakra system. I mean, even in, acupuncture, that people do, like Pat and Emily, and, it's the meridians, the chakras are the main meridians. They need to be healed. They need to be opened. They need to be developed inside so that we can have a connection with higher energy in the universe that nurtures us, and it brings healing with it. It gives us the strength to do amazing things in life and to do miraculous things in life. But first, we got to get free of ourselves. The only reason we don't do these things, we got to get free of us. And I'll say it again, happy people are enlightened people, people that can live with joy and love in their hearts. And, and it's not just, they do it once every 2 weeks, or they win the lotto, or they fall in love with somebody. I mean, it's a permanent reality inside them. When they're taking out the garbage, when everything in life is going wrong, the heart still stays open. And they learn from it. Instead of getting crazy inside and upset and tense, they really learn from the things that are going wrong in their life. And they're grateful for them because those things also are teachers. But you need a really strong system inside to be able to live this way. And that's basically the meditation that Rudy passed on, is to build that kind of system. And it has to do with healing, healing ourselves of karma that could be 100 lifetimes old inside us, It's getting this kind of lightness of being, Many years ago, I wrote a book about healing called Leah, Story of Meditation and Healing. And the whole book was about how the consciousness unfolds in a human being and the development of chakras that, in themselves begin to heal people of all kinds of serious problems they could have. I mean, one of the things in that book that I talked about, and this is really true, the body, the universe is a reflection of what goes on inside us. Chakras are like the planets, the meridians are like all the muscles and cells and, everything in the body. I mean, and they're like the stars and the moons and we look out and we see a reflection of ourselves. And the only way life has any kind of harmonious reality to it is when we have harmony and balance inside ourselves. Otherwise, there's no harmony in life. we're picking it apart. We're looking for answers. We're rationalizing everything, trying to figure out what can't be figured out. And all we got to do is create harmony and balance in ourselves. And suddenly we see the world differently. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, do you ever use a visualization to keep your attention on one of the chakra centers?
You can. I mean, if you can find something to visualize the chakra, the root chakra right below the navel, the hara. It could be a light, a color, whatever gets you there and focuses you there. You can use that. I mean, this meditation is not adverse to using things like that to open yourself inside.
Thank you.
I mean, you could visualize Rudy there. I mean, that power will get you focused, But anyway, use something where don't think about it, It has to be a true visualization. If you think about it, you'll never get anywhere with it. But a real visualization of an energy force that'll get you centered. And the most important place to get centered is the chakra below the navel, because that is the root, that's the power that enables everything else to happen. And while everything else happens, we are grounded inside. So it transforms our whole consciousness. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart. It's the first time I heard you say separate the soul from the body. Normally that's associated with death. Can you just talk a little bit about the difference between being, here alive with that and versus,
We gradually get closer and closer to that state of death and rebirth, by separating the soul from the body, rebirth into the cosmos and one with higher energy. It's a process that takes a lifetime to do. And the moment we enter a state of samadhi, at the end of our life, this thing happens. We have spent our time gradually building an inner life that allows that to take place. And the closer we get to it, the more human we become. You understand? I mean, that's real. The more joy there is in our heart, the more love there is inside us, the more we respect life, the more we realize that everything in life is a manifestation of higher energy, and it's all a living miracle around us. This gets clearer and clearer as we build a system inside that it gets us closer to that point of death where the soul separates from the body. And real enlightenment is not that. The real enlightenment is growing every day. As I say, it's just learning to build a system that enables you to just live here with joy and love. I mean, when I was younger, I used to read a lot of philosophy, and Aristotle, Plato, Spinoza, all those people. And almost every one of them talked about something that I got so angry about when I was 20 years old. And that was the ultimate goal of all humanity is to be happy. And I said, how could that be? How could that be? It really used to upset me. I said, no, there's got to be something. And as I grew and matured in my life and got deeper into this meditation I realized they were right. It's the ultimate goal of it's the greatest treasure that anyone can find in this world. Just an open heart, love, and happiness. And that's that gradual unfolding of consciousness to that point of samadhi where one leaves where the soul leaves the body and becomes one with higher energy in the universe.
Stuart, I've been reading a lot from darkness to light and about healing. One of the things that I read in
Who's talking?
this is Claudia.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So, so you were writing a note to Isabel saying that when things come up, and make it when you feel the things coming up that are hard to deal with, you said it was like getting a homeopathic treatment. So you're worse before you get better. And that, so
Claudia,
that was a
what's
good,
the question, please? You always give me an essay. What's the question?
well, do you have anything further to say about that?
What else do I have to say about it? I mean, Rudy always talked about it like dredging a river. You got to bring all the garbage to the surface to clean the river.
Yeah.
Here we have to bring all of that emotional, mental crap that is so repressed and buried inside us over a lifetime to the surface so we can literally clean it out of us. You got to know the enemy if you're going to win the war. And that comes up. And instead of being frightened by it, instead of, oh my God, the pain, crying and lament, it really is just a matter of going a little deeper inside, getting a little more grounded, and then flushing that stuff out of your system, letting it. And how do you flush it out of your system? Letting it become part of the flow of Shakti through the chakra system, and then drawing it through the sex. And that will transform it from the human to the spiritual. And then that will activate Kundalini. So instead of getting lost in all that emotional quicksand, we have the capacity to draw all of that gook, into the chakra system, and it flows through the chakras and it transforms itself. When it moves through the sexual area, the human gets transformed to the spiritual, which is the ultimate reason why what Tantra is all about, is the transformation of the human to the spiritual. That will activate Kundalini. And Kundalini is the pathway to enlightenment. It's all a process. What happens is this stuff comes up and they cry, they lament, it becomes a big soap opera, instead of just drawing it to the chakra below the navel, making it part of the flow inside, using your will to do that, transforming it into energy that will give you a spiritual life. What's killing you can give you life if you learn how to use it properly. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. So there'll be a class tomorrow evening at same time, 7:30 my time. And God bless you all. Thank you for being here. And I'm just deeply grateful. This coronavirus thing enabled this Zoom thing to take place. As I've said many times, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And all of a sudden, this thing is touching people all over the world. And I'm so grateful for it, to be able to share everything I've learned from Rudy with people that are living literally all over the world that are taking part in this. So bless you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making me work my ass off. God bless you all. And I hope to see everybody tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Good evening.
Very much.